All right. So you've got a pretty good idea about aerodynamics and fluid dynamics. It's a short intro. I get it, but at least hopefully you have the basics. And so let's talk about how you can use those sails actually to help you steer. Because if you can use the sails, it's been found, rather than your rudders, the boat will be a lot faster. And I think it's a lot to do with the fact that air is a compressible fluid and water is not. So when you move the rudders, it's not pushing anything. But if you move the sails, it's pushing the air around, less resistance. And so basically, and I've done a video on how to start from a dead stop and how to just kill your way and sit in one spot on the starting line or anywhere else for several minutes. So watch that video on how to start, because it talks about how to steer with your sails. Basically, in a word, if you want to steer up closer to the wind, you sheet your main on and the boat will just rotate right up into the wind. If you want to steer down, then you sheet the jib on and the bows will get blown off and you'll be able to steer away from the wind. That's really important, especially at low speeds. Let's say you're coming out of a tack or off a start line or anywhere where there's really, and you don't know what to do. If you need to put the bows down, which is typically the case, you sheet the jib on, you let the main out, and the boat will rotate. All right. But on the other hand, if you do need to get closer to the wind, you can let the jib off, sheet the main on, and the bow will pivot right up into the wind, which can be a tricky spot for a catamaran, so don't get too close. I want to talk about sailing conditions, because we all have the same wind, although the wind does vary. But it's really the water that's going to really determine how you set your boat up. If you expect it to be flat water, that is beautiful. That I kind of liken that to skiing on a groomed run, right? And it is fast, right? Skiing, you're making big, fast, long turns. It's the same thing on a Hobie or on a multi-hull. Man, you just sheet on, put the bows down, go as fast as you can, and point too. But I mean, you don't have to worry about waves or any of that. When you can sail high upwind in flat water, and you can sail low downwind because you don't run the risk of running into another wave or losing power or any of that. It's in the choppy water that is where the real learning occurs. And, I used to sail on lakes quite a bit. And what I've learned is that lakes tend to be pretty flat, and salt water tends to be open water, tends to be choppier. And so I switched my sailing to the choppier water because that's where technique really comes in. All right. And so with choppy water, if you're trapped out, you want to keep one hull, just like they say, kissing the tops of the waves, get it out of the way if you can. All right. And then in the flat water, you're real careful about your steering. Right? You're making small adjustments. But in the choppy water, in the waves, man, you want to be steering around the waves and just looking for that flat water. And so I don't know if you ski moguls. I used to ski moguls. Well, I still do ski moguls quite a bit. And I was taught early on, look 2 or 3 moguls in advance, ahead. Same thing is true when you're sailing in the waves. Don't look at the wave coming at you. Look 2 or 3 waves ahead. And that's going to help you figure out how the patterns are and where you need to be steering so that you can be in the flattest water as much as possible. And I know waves come in sets, and there's times when you just have to hit it, put the bow down, get through it, power it up, and then get back to it. But all right.